here know who he is. I just want to read a real quick little saying that a member of the audience told me about. This is from Solzhenitsyn, and this is one of the reasons I think we're all here, and we kind of have to remind ourselves why we're doing this. He says, and how we burned in the cabins later thinking, what would things have been like if every security operative, when he went out at night to make an arrest, had been uncertain whether he would return alive and had to say goodbye to his family? Or if during periods of mass arrests, as for example in Leningrad, when they arrested a quarter of the entire city, people had not simply sat there in their lairs, paling with terror, had every bang on the downstairs door and every step on the staircase, but had understood that they had nothing left to lose and had boldly set up in the downstairs hall an ambush of half a dozen people with axes, hammers, pokers, whatever else was on hand. After all, you knew ahead of time that those blue caps were out at night for no good purpose. But we didn't love freedom enough. That's what makes this country great. It's not diversity, it's freedom. Bill Cooper.
Well, imagine even back then they were talking about that whole diversity makes the country great or whatever. That's so bizarre. But that's interesting. I didn't know that they were saying that back then.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Why does he put this symbol on his thing? Why would he put that? Is that it's like a cross through it. It's like an X. But even that, when they put that thing through it, the circle around and then it's like no United Nations, right? Like against the United Nations or something, but this something with that's weird too.
Well, you sure know how to make me feel very humble. Thank you so much. I think one of the biggest misconceptions in this country is what this country is all about, who founded it, for what purpose, and most specifically, what it is that we're all looking for. I'm going to try to clarify some of those, and in doing it, as always happens, someone's going to be angry with my definition of some of these things. I've traveled all over the country. I've talked to probably hundreds of thousands of people individually over a lot of years. I broadcast a radio show that brings me thousands of letters every week. I administer the world's largest and most successful civilian intelligence gathering operation in the world, which makes me privy to an awful lot of information that none of you will ever see. And there's so much of it, I can never present it in a form that you would be able to look at it and digest it. So that puts a pretty big burden on me and the people who work with me in the intelligence service and in the Catchy News service in order to digest this information, analyze it, and be able to present to you what we believe, and this is a subjective judgment, what you can digest and what you need to know at that particular time. And in doing this, digesting all this information, reading all these letters from people of every kind of background that you can imagine, every race, every religion, every kind of agenda, believe me, there's an awful lot of agendas going on in this country that are dangerous to Americans. Being promoted by people who claim to be Americans, who claim to be patriots, and who claim to be doing the best for this country, including those who want to destroy it and bring about a one-world totalitarian socialist government. They sincerely believe in their heart they're doing the right thing for humankind. See, nobody gets up in the morning and sets out to do evil.
This is too fast, guys. It's too fast. Can you understand what he's saying?
Nobody consciously does that. I've never met any person in my entire life who said, I'm evil, I'm going to do evil things, I like to do evil things, I want to do evil things. They don't exist, in my knowledge. They may exist somewhere, people like Jeffrey Dahmer. And I believe that even Jeffrey Dahmer probably rationalized what he was doing in his own mind to make it right. Isn't that the way we all do things? Even if we do something wrong, we know we're doing something wrong, don't we attempt to rationalize it in our own mind and to our friends to justify what we're doing? So I believe it's a great fallacy to set out to brand those whom we disagree with as being evil people. The result of their actions, we may perceive to be evil. We may perceive it to be bad. But I guarantee you those people don't see it that way. And when we present ourselves to them in that light, we're good and they're evil. Do you think we have a chance of getting them to listen to us? Not on your life. It's not going to happen. So I think we have to change the way we talk. We have to talk to them in a different manner. Now don't take what I'm going to tell you standing up here today and compare it to what I say on the radio and expect the two to concur. Because when I'm here, I'm just Bill Cooper. I'm talking to you from my heart. When I'm on the radio, I am on a mission. And that mission is to slap people upside the head and wake them up and even make them hate me, if that's what it takes to get them to go examine what I'm telling them to find out that it's right. You see, I don't care how it's done, as long as they wake up. If I have to be the bad guy that's going to hate the rest of their life, that's okay with me, if I wake them up. But when I'm here talking like this, that's not my mission. Because you're awake already or you wouldn't be here. But I was right. Because when you get angry? No. Do you pay for my efforts to wake up the American people? I know that it's going to open some doors for some of you. I hope that off in time compared to everything else that's in this world. And I'm not talking about biblical years, and I'm not talking about theory of evolution years. I'm talking about from the time when you can see that man emerged on the historical scale of this world and began to affect other species and the world that we live in, and himself, by perfecting the ability to think. First original thought. See, there used to be a time in history when man was just like all the other animals. He didn't think, he didn't know good from evil. He existed, lived by instincts, just like the other animals did. If you want to believe the record that we can look back and see written in stone. See Man just enjoyed what God had put there, and sort of took care of the garden. Any dentist will tell you that our mouth was not made for eating meat. So ancient man most probably ate vegetables and nuts and things like that, roots. Doesn't mean that I'm telling you to become a vegetarian, because I'm not. See, I really believe in freedom. I believe you should eat whatever you feel like eating. That's your business. But that's known to people who study these things as the age of innocence. Something happened that brought man out of that state, and if you're talking from a biblical reference, out of the Garden of Eden and into the world. He wasn't innocent anymore. He understood that he was naked, that his partner was naked. He could think. He could look around, he knew when something was good and when it was bad, just as we all do here. And somebody comes up to me and says, well, how do we know which is the right way to go? I know that person is setting me up to justify his bad deeds, and I won't do it. You always know. We always know which is the right way and which is the bad way. The bad way sometimes feels better, so we may choose that way and justify it by rationalization in order to make ourselves feel better about the bad that we did. In the mystery schools, they refer to this mystical time coming out of the age of innocence as the Luciferian philosophy. I've tried to illuminate you with this for years on my radio broadcast. In the Bible or in the church, they talk about the fall of man. Same thing. There's only one difference between the Luciferian philosophy and the fall of man, is that those who talk about the fall of man believe in God. Whether or not they believe in a Savior, they believe in God. The ones who believe in the Luciferian philosophy do not. Now here's how that works. In the Bible we're told that Eve was tempted by Satan to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God had commanded Adam and Eve not to eat of the fruit of that tree. If you do, ye will surely die. Isn't that the commandment? Lucifer, through his agent Satan, on the other hand, told Eve, God lied to you. He's holding back the fact that you too can become God. But first you have to eat of the fruit of this tree. And if you do, you will surely not die, but shall become as gods. Isn't that true? So, from the religious aspect, we see that as the fall of man because man disobeyed God. We see that as the subjugation of the woman beneath man, where she had originally been the partner. Now she is subjugated beneath man because she was the agent of man's downfall. Is that correct? I'm not talking right or wrong. I'm not trying to insult anybody in here. I'm just telling you what we're taught, so that we all understand what we're talking about, because that's most important. If you understand something differently than what I'm trying to impart to you up here, and we don't have the same definition, we're not going to understand each other, are we? The mysteries, on the other hand, look at this in a different light. Here's their story. It's a metaphor. They don't believe that there ever was a God, or that there ever is a God, aside from man himself. And man has not reached that state yet, but can. This is what they teach in the lodges, that if you perfect yourself as the temple of the God within, and become Christed, you've all heard this in the New Age movement, you too can become God. In her movie, Running on the Beach, spinning around, I am God. We'll ask her early in the morning when she just wakes up and goes and sits in front of the mirror and looks at her aging face and tries to cover it up with makeup if she's God. She may tell you a different story about that time. Around noon, she might be feeling better and become God again. But this is the reality of the human condition. We'd all love to be gods, wouldn't we? My question to Shirley MacLaine at one time was, please, Shirley, could you make me a universe? She sort of looked at me with this hurt look on her face as she confronted her mortality and realized that she was not God because she could not make me a universe. She couldn't even make herself a universe. She can't even make herself look young again. She's having a hard time paying some of her debts. God doesn't have that problem, does he? And in her case, she. Here's the way they look at it. Here's their metaphor for the end of innocence. Adam and Eve were held prisoner in the Garden of Eden by an unjust, cruel, and vindictive God. Until Lucifer, through his agent Satan, set man free from this garden by giving him the gift of intellect. Through the use of intellect, man will conquer the earth, will conquer nature, and will himself become God. It's taught in every Masonic temple in this land. Every secret brotherhood, every secret society, every mystical temple, every occult organization teaches the Luciferian philosophy. They do not believe in Lucifer. They do not believe in any entity called a...
See, this is the kind of oversimplification of the thing, because if you walk into a Freemason lodge, they're not going to just immediately teach you that, you know. If you study with them for a while, then you'll get to that kind of level, but they're not just going to teach you that.
They do not believe in Lucifer. They do not believe in any entity called a devil, and they do not believe in God. It is a mistake for you to assume that they do. They're atheists in the strictest sense of the word.
That's the other thing. Like, actually, Freemasons are not allowed to be atheists. They will not allow you into the organization if you are an atheist. You must believe in some kind of higher power or God. You must, or they will not permit you to join the Freemasons. Yeah.
In every occult organization teaches the Luciferian philosophy. They do not believe in Lucifer. They do not believe in any entity called a devil, and they do not believe in God. It is a mistake for you to assume that they do. They're atheists in the strictest sense of the word. They are humanists. That's their religion. At the highest level, their goal is to create a world in which the adepts, the 1,000 points of light, working behind the veil to create the culmination of the great plan, can realize the ultimate happiness for mankind. That's why they don't oppose pornography. That's why they don't oppose certain crimes. That's why they say you should not be put in jail for the rest of your life for murder or anything else. There should be no death penalty, because it was a learning experience. And having gone through that learning experience, you're a better person now. This is what they teach. They believe punishment for these crimes is nothing more than vengeful retribution,
Check it
which is
out.
wrong in their eyes. So these are really the two philosophies that we have competing with each other in the world today. Who brought man the gift of fire? Prometheus. Who was Prometheus? Lucifer. What was the gift of fire? Knowledge, intellect. Hasn't man created industry, culture, society, science from the use of one solitary thing? Fire. Without fire, none of it would have occurred. None of it. Nothing. There would be no society without fire. That's how it's represented in the ancient myths and in mysteries. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? What is it represented as? A bolt of lightning struck a tree. The tree burst into flames. Ancient man, if you watch the movie Quest for Fire, rushed up and grabbed one of the burning branches, and it burned his hand and he let it go. He probably didn't go any farther than that the first time. The second time, he may have found a deer that had been roasted by the heat of the fire in the forest. And being hungry, maybe he partook of some of that meat and found it tasted pretty good. Also, the fire was warm. It didn't get cold at night. This is where the whole battle between the forces of light and darkness comes from. A man sat up on a rock one night watching the sunset, said, boy, I'm in deep trouble now. I can't see in the dark. There's wild beasts out there. There's tigers with teeth 7 inches long that want me for dinner. What am I going to do? He didn't know what to do. Neither would many of us put in that situation. But we would know one thing, we're in deep trouble. And so for a good part of his history, man sat huddled in the darkness in some place that made him feel secure, waiting to be saved. Now remember, folks, I'm not telling you what I believe. I'm telling you what is taught in the mysteries. I'm telling you what our enemies believe.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that. I was like, why does this guy believe that? Doesn't he believe in the Bible? Or anyway, I guess so he's saying what they believe. Like cavemen and people didn't know about fire and stuff. We'll check out the drones thing again soon, all right, brother? Thanks.
No mistake about it, they are our mortal enemies. They want to see us wiped off the face of the earth. Man huddled in this darkness, fearful, trembling, cold, hungry.
He claims to believe in the Bible. He claims to. He says that he does. And it's very strange what these people are saying, but I don't know.
And around about he could hear the beasts roaring. And sometimes they were roaring because they were after him. And sometimes he was eating. A man eventually saw another tree struck by lightning and grabbed that branch with that.
Yeah, he claims to be a Christian. I think he's a shill. I think he's a Satan worshiper himself, but I don't know.
A man eventually saw another tree struck by lightning and grabbed that branch with that flame on it. And by a little experimentation, he learned how to keep that fire going. And if he could keep the fire going, he knew something nobody else knew. He became the first king, the first priest, the first scientist, all rolled into one. And he would burn his fire, keep it going. Another man in the cold of the night, wanting to escape from the terrors that were out there, would gravitate toward this glow. And he would see this man sitting there. And if he was trying, he would let them come to the fire.
Nah, it's not a green screen, man. They just set that up like that. It's not that hard.
And they would be warm. They would be protected because if the wild beast came, he'd pick up a branch and shove it in its face and the beast would go away. And so the forces of light overcame the forces of darkness. And in the sunshine of the morning, the newly risen, resurrected child that had died the night before, their Savior, warned them and saved them from the terrors of the prince of darkness. You have to study these things to understand your enemy. Any general who ventures upon a battlefield without understanding the enemy is doomed to defeat. Just like a militia that forms itself upon a peninsula has already created its own concentration camp, unless it has a navy. Damn good militia, am I there? What is the upshot of this? What am I getting at here? These people believe, and they've conducted themselves according to their belief and their philosophy since the very dawn of men. These people learned how to control others through the use of a hidden knowledge. This ability to keep that fire going was a technology that nobody else knew. By observing the fire, by keeping it going, by creating ceremonies around this fire, they became a mystery to the others. A mystery always holds sway over those who don't understand it. And the priesthood was born. No king ever existed without the permission of the priesthood. I don't care what religion you're talking about or what period of history you're talking about, it is the truth. The kings never had the power and don't to this day. Kings exist at the whim of the real power, which is the priesthood standing behind the throne. But when the king ceased to be a benefit to the priesthood, they would simply poison him or get rid of him in some other way. The king's dead, long live the king, and there would be another king appointed. There was even a time in history when the king was a sacrificial king, just like John F. Kennedy was in the Temple of the Sun known as Dewey Plaza. They would pick a young man, the height of his virility, appoint him king for 1 year. During that time, he could do or say or command whatever he wanted. The priesthood was always there to make sure he commanded the right things, have any woman that he wanted. And at the end of the year, he was ceremoniously sacrificed upon a rock, his heart ripped out, his body dismembered into 14 pieces and scattered over the land. And this is where the legend of the Osirian cycle began. It was to ensure the fertility of the crops of the next year. And young men would
Like, this is just made up stuff. Like, this is actually, I mean, it's weird because, like, I guess he's trying to say that he's teaching them what the Luciferians believe, which this is kind of like their mystery religion stuff that he's telling them. But the way he's talking to them, it's almost like he's trying to tell them something that they should believe. Like he said the thing about all the kings. When he says that all the kings have to kind of obey the priest class or whatever, right? That's like, it doesn't sound like he's telling them something from the mystery religion. It sounds like he's just saying something that he believes. So it's very weird. Like, this is why these guys are confusing and weird. And this is something, if you read their books, like these occultists, their books, this is how it reads. This is the type of way they talk, and they read in the same way. It's a way that's just confusing. It's like, is this guy telling me what he believes or what the Luciferians believe? What is he saying? Because right when he just said this thing about John F. Kennedy, that's part of his belief, right? About his conspiracies. But then he was saying the thing about how the king, and it's just weird, dude. This is why these people are confusing and
With the height of his virility, appoint him king for 1 year. During that time, he could do or say or command whatever he wanted. The priesthood was always there to make sure he commanded the right things, have any woman that he wanted. And at the end of the year, he was ceremoniously sacrificed upon a rock, his heart ripped out, his body dismembered into 14 pieces and scattered over the land. And this is where the legend of the Osirian cycle began. It was
See, so right now he just told that story about JFK. He's saying JFK. Oh wait, before he was saying something else about JFK, then he was saying something else. Let's
when the
hear
king
this.
ceased to be a benefit to the priesthood, they would simply poison him.
So he's saying that when he says this, like all the kings had to obey the priest. If the king stops being useful to the priest will poison him and get rid of him. Is that something from the Luciferians, or is that something he believes? Like, what are we supposed to get from this?
The history you're talking about, it is the truth. The kings never had the power and don't to this day. Kings exist at the whim of the real power, which is the priesthood standing behind the throne.
That's what he believes, right? That's something when he says that. When he said it, that's like in your mind, right? When he said that, do you think that he's saying what the Luciferians said, or what?
Never existed without permission of the priesthood. I don't care what religion you're talking about or what period of history you're talking about, it is the truth. The kings never had the power and don't to this day. Kings exist at the whim of the real power, which is the priesthood standing behind the throne. And when the king ceased to be a benefit to the priesthood, they would simply poison him or get rid of him in some other way. The king's dead, long live the king, and there would be another king appointed. There was even a time in history when the king was a sacrificial king, just like John F. Kennedy was in the temple of the sun known as Dealey Plaza. They would pick a young man.
See, that's so weird, dude. He's like, just like John F. Kennedy was, and the temple Dealey's Plaza was the temple of the sun, and then his lip comes, like his little tongue comes out to his lip. These people are snakes, dude. They're wicked.
The king's dead, long live the king, and there would be another king appointed. There was even a time in history when the king was a sacrificial king, just like John F. Kennedy was in the temple of the sun known as Dealey Plaza. They would pick a young man, the height of his virility, appoint him king for 1 year. During that time, he could do or say or command whatever he wanted. The priesthood was always there to make sure he commanded the right things, have any woman that he wanted. And at the end of the year, he was ceremoniously sacrificed upon a rock, his heart ripped out.
This guy's William Cooper. He used to be this kind of conspiracy guy. He used to talk about the Freemasons and stuff, but he probably is a Freemason himself. And he predicted the 9/11 thing, and then they killed him, quote unquote, in August of 2001. So it seemed like, oh, they got Bill Cooper because he knew about 9/11 and stuff, man. And then, but I don't know. Anyway, this is very shilly. This whole speech he's giving here is very, very shilly and weird.
Appoint him king for 1 year. During that time, he could do or say or command whatever he wanted. The priesthood was always there to make sure he commanded the right things, have any woman that he wanted. And at the end of the year, he was ceremoniously sacrificed upon a rock, his heart ripped out, his body dismembered into 14 pieces and scattered over the land. And this is where the legend of the Osirian cycle began. It was to ensure the fertility of the crops of the next year. And young men would volunteer for this in their patriotic duty to their kingdom, to their family, so that they could have prosperous years. Much as our young men, they volunteer to rush out over the water to a place called Kuwait or Iraq and die in the godforsaken sands of a place that nobody can even find on a map and never heard of until it happened. Also that he can be called a patriot, someone his family can be proud of. It escapes me how they can ever arrive at these conclusions, but they do, and the priesthood always takes the most advantage of this willingness to sacrifice oneself upon the altar of his country. The problem with it is it's very seldom really for the country. It's for the advancement of the agenda of the priesthood, whoever the priests happen to be at the time.
So I guess the whole priests rule the kings. The kings have to rule by permission of the priests. That's so you can get to this idea that the Vatican is running the world or whatever. All right, maybe we'll check it out. I don't know. Is this the guy who talks about the Roman circus? I don't know what the Roman circus is. Roman circus. He does talk about the Roman Catholic Church quite a bit. He thinks that he believes like that idea that the Vatican is kind of running the Illuminati or whatever you want to call it. And so he believes all that stuff. He'll talk about the Catholics and the Jesuits and stuff.
Am I attacking the church? You better believe it. All churches, all organized religions that have existed since the beginning of the time. Am I attacking the religion of individuals never known in your life? He wasn't trying to create a big church. He knew what happened.
Wait, what?
All churches, all organized. It's for the advancement of the agenda of the priesthood, whoever the priests happened to be at the time. Am I attacking the church? You better believe it. All churches, all organized religions that have existed since the beginning of the time. Am I attacking the religion of individuals never known in your life? He wasn't trying to create a big church. He knew what happened to those things.
See, that's the thing. See, like, you see how he talks? Like, I'm not attacking the church. Or what does he say? I am attacking the church, but I'm not attacking the religion of individuals. So it's like, if you're a Christian, then you would attack the religion of other individuals who are not Christian, right? And you would even attack the other denominations because they're wrong, right? But he's trying to get to this idea that it doesn't matter about the religion you have. We need to deal with these the priests or whatever, the Vatican or whoever he thinks is the problem, right? But it's weird because that's kind of what the Freemasons do too, because they'll say you have to believe in God. It doesn't matter which God, it doesn't matter what religion you have, but you must believe in God. And if you believe in God, then you can join us. And this is what he's kind of talking like. He's like, I'm not attacking your individual religion. You can believe whatever you want. I'm not attacking that. I'm just attacking the churches, the organized religions. Which a lot of people kind of they're sympathetic to that idea, right? But that's not a good idea either if you're Christian.
Never known in your life. He wasn't trying to create a big church. He knew what happened to those things. And you're all wrong about that, man. You say you shouldn't get angry. You shouldn't curse. You shouldn't do things that upset other people because that's what Jesus spent his whole life doing. He threw the money changers out of the temple. Don't you think that made some people angry? Don't you think it was rude to walk up to somebody's place of business, smack them in the mouth, grab their table, and throw it out the door?
He didn't smack anyone in the mouth. He didn't smack anyone in the mouth. And I'm sure he got some people mad or whatever, and they're certainly mad at him. But was he rude? Did he say anything rude to them? I don't think he did. The most thing you might say was rude is the thing he said to the Pharisees in like Matthew 23. Some of his comments to the Pharisees, you might say that's rude, but then maybe not too.
You do things that upset other people because that's what Jesus spent his whole life doing. He threw the money changers out of the temple. Don't you think that made some people angry? Don't you think it was rude to walk up to somebody's place of business, smack them in the mouth, grab their table, and throw it out the door? What about the time he
I don't think he threw the tables, did he? He threw it out the door. He just threw it. He flipped them over or something like that. And then also he didn't smack anybody. He doesn't say anything about him smacking anyone. Okay, he made a like a thing of ropes, like a kind of like a whip type of thing, like a scourge. They call it a scourge, but it's not like, I don't think it was for the people. I think it was for the animals. So I don't think he actually struck any person. He didn't do any violence against another human being in that incident, okay?
rude to walk up to somebody's place of business, smack them in the mouth, grab their table, and throw it out the door? What about the time he cursed the fig tree? The pious Christians sometimes make me very angry. They don't even know Christianity. They don't know the man they followed. He was a revolutionary. He was a dangerous man. And by God, so am I. And so should you be. This country was founded.
Oh, like you mean like bread and circuses, like that idea? Like the Romans had that concept of bread and circuses? That's interesting. The Roman circus. Who am I slandering, bro? Who am I slandering? Is that slander? Are you like this guy? You like this guy? Listen, this guy's a shill, bro. But anyway, I'm not slandering him. I'm just saying. I didn't slander anyone.
And by God, so am I. And so should you be. This country was founded by dangerous men. God, so am I. Fig tree, put to somebody's place of business, smack them in the mouth, grab their table, and throw it out the door. What about the time he cursed the fig tree? And the pious Christians sometimes.
He cursed the fig tree. He didn't curse. He didn't use curse words on it. And it's not like it was a person. It's just a fig tree. That's the whole point of the thing. And anyway, that's so dumb.
Out the door. What about the time he cursed the fig tree? And the pious Christians sometimes make me very angry. They don't even know Christianity. They don't know the man they followed. He was a revolutionary.
Oh! Pious Christians who tell this guy not to swear at people, not to be rude, and not to hit anybody in the mouth or not to curse anyone. They're saying he's trying to say that they don't know the Bible because of that stupid stuff he just said. That's so dumb.
The pious Christians sometimes make me very angry. They don't even know Christianity. They don't know the man they follow. He was a revolutionary. He was a dangerous man.
He was not a revolutionary. Because think about it, the people who were revolutionaries, like the zealots and stuff, right? Like remember when they came up to him and they were like, "Hey, Jesus, is it right for us to pay taxes or no? To pay taxes to Caesar or no?" Right? And he said, "You mean that? Let me see the coin. Whose superscription is on this coin? Okay, give it to Caesar, but it's Caesar's." That's the idea. Like you obey the law, you pay the taxes. He's not a revolutionary. He was not. And there were revolutionaries there, like the zealots and people like that. And he was against that because they're trying to fight Rome. And he's saying, no, don't fight them. Just focus on God. Give Caesar what is Caesar's and give unto God what is God's.
Christianity. They don't know the man they follow. He was a revolutionary. He was a dangerous man. And by God, so am I.
He was a dangerous man. Yes, certainly Jesus Christ was a very, very dangerous man, much more than any of us, right? But whatever this guy's trying to act like he's some tough guy and that's what a Christian should be because that's what Jesus was, that's not true. That's weird. I hate when people talk like this. So weird.
Revolutionary. He was a dangerous man. And by God, so am I. And so should you be. This country was.
So he's a dangerous man. I guess what he means by that is he has guns. He's not dangerous, right? He's got a pot belly. He can't fight. You know, he get kicked down in 2 seconds, right? By anybody. But he thinks he's dangerous probably because he has guns and he knows how to shoot guns or whatever. Okay, so that makes you kind of dangerous. Jesus never lifted a weapon in the entire thing that we read in the whole book. Like we never read of him ever harming anyone, ever. Right? So the idea that this guy, yeah, meekness, exactly, meekness. Is this guy acting meek right now? Anyway. Yeah, the tough guy Christians, bro. This is what this guy's trying to pull right now. It's some tough guy act. What a joke. What a joke.
Was founded by dangerous men. Amen. You know the man they follow. He was a revolutionary. Amen. He was a dangerous man. And by God, so am I. Amen. And so should you be. This country was founded by dangerous men. Amen. And the moment the people in this country.
See, now he's like, oh, this country was founded by dangerous men. Which, again, it certainly was. But the thing is, his whole theory is that the founders or the founding fathers were all Freemasons and that the country, the government, and everything is set up against us. I mean, even the very idea of having this flag here, this American flag, right? Because if you're going to believe this guy's theory of the founding of America by Freemasons, and all the symbolism and everything is Freemason, why would you put that flag there? That flag is one of their symbols. That they clearly made that flag, right? But this guy's they're trying to like, I don't know, this is very confusing and stuff, but what they're trying to do is mix their messages and just give this weird stuff, man. This is weird.
And by God, so am I. And so should you be. This country was founded by dangerous men. And the moment the people in this country cease to be dangerous men, it's going to be the day we cease to have a country. Their whole goal with this philosophy is to teach all men and women that the only end of life is to seek the utmost pleasure and happiness that you can get out of it, because when you die, there's nothing else. That's what they teach. That's what they want you to be. They don't want laws against sexual promiscuity. That's why they don't want families. That's why they don't want marriage. That's why they encourage homosexuality. There's a method to their madness. There's really not much method to yours, because you're operating from a place of ignorance. And until you change that, you'll be bumbling around.
I agree. I agree with him that America is founded by Freemasons, and basically all the countries are, and even including Canada and all these countries. But I'm just saying, like, his whole, like, he just contradicts himself every 5 minutes. But I don't like the way he's talking about Jesus. That's the thing. But when it comes to America, I would say it's certainly founded by Freemasons, like all the countries kind of are, and so yeah.
Around bumping into each other, saying and doing the wrong things, not understanding the nature of your enemy. If you don't understand the nature of your enemy and the weapons they use, you cannot fight that enemy. If you can't fight the battle, you shouldn't even be on the battlefield. That's why you're losing the war. And don't tell me you're not, because I'm in a place of great knowledge about who's winning and who's losing this war. And I can assure you, you're losing the war. Doesn't mean it can't be turned around. It'll never be turned around until you learn what you need to know. You don't even recognize half the weapons that they use against you.
You see, that's the other thing they'll do. They'll say, you're losing the war. There's something wrong with your life. Like there's some problem you have, and you have to know. It won't fix until you learn what you need to know. And he's the one that's got the things that you need to know, quote unquote, right? And so you buy his book and listen to his stupid radio show and listen to this stupid speech. But in this speech, apparently he thinks that he has something that we need to know in order to win the war, whatever he's talking about, right? But where is he going to tell us? Can you just tell us? What is the thing we need to know? Just tell us what it is. Maybe even give us a little sneak peek of, I can understand maybe it's complicated. You need to explain it for a while or whatever, but you could just quickly give us what's the basics of what you're going to explain to us and then explain it, right? But instead what they do is he goes off on this weird thing, all these tangents. Oh, JFK. Oh, like Jesus in the temple. Jesus was a dangerous man and all this stuff. So it's just all over the place. So by the end of it, these people, right? They're like just American patriot type nice people from the country. They're just going to go, wow, that was really cool and exciting. And sounded great. And you sound awesome, man. But they didn't realize that all he did was just yap at them. He never said anything meaningful or give them any kind of true. Like the thing that he was supposed to talk about is I don't even know what he was going to say, but it's something about what is it? Lansing, Michigan lecture. I don't even know what he's talking about, but whatever. This is just dumb.
And some of them seem so insignificant that you don't even try. They want to create a world where everybody is happy all the time. Doing all of the things that, if you're from a good religious upbringing, is wrong to do. If you're not from a religious upbringing, but you have a good brain and you understand the purpose of morals and ethics, it's still the wrong thing to do. If you're a thinking person. And then the priest had an army. Oh boy, weren't they happy with that? Their whole purpose throughout history has been to teach a small number of people how to become adept at controlling everyone else. And presenting their societies as desirable to the profane, so that you're going to knock on the door and say, hey, can I be a member? And be initiated. With the promise of learning some great secret. What is that secret? The secret is what I've just told you this morning. The secret is how to control everybody else. And you never understand how to control everybody else until you get to the top of this.
There's a lot of cuts happening here, right? So I hope you guys understand. We're not seeing the full speech, but so I think he's getting to some kind of point here, but he's still not going to do it. This is what these people do. They'll say, oh, this is what it is. It's like they make you think like now he's going to get to the point. Now he's going to say something. And then it's more of a maze, more of a labyrinth. And if you read their books too, it's the same thing. It's like a labyrinth. It's just you will never find any kind of point, any kind of actual thing, knowledge to learn something. They're not making a proper argument based on, this is what I'm trying to explain to you. I'm going to give you my evidence. No, it's just all over the place. It's a bunch of weird just yapping.
And presenting their societies as desirable to the profane, so that you're going to knock on the door and say, hey, can I be a member? And be initiated. With the promise of learning some great secret. What is that secret? The secret is what I've just told you this morning. The secret is how to control everybody else. And you never understand how to control.
That's the secret. That's the secret. That's the secret. That's what they're trying to figure out when they join the Freemasons. So dumb.
Morning. The secret is how to control everybody else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of American soldiers regret the Iraq War because the Iraq War seems to be quite clearly like a war for oil, and just obviously they certainly did not participate in 9/11 or anything, right? So people are just like, why did we attack that country, right? Because the justification was kind of around 9/11. That's why they attacked it, right? Anyway, so there's quite a few American soldiers that resent that, but there's quite a few that don't, because there's this. If you're like a neocon in America, they have their justification for Iraq. They know what to say. They have all their arguments set up. If you try to say, oh, Iraq was just a war for oil or whatever, they know what to say, So there's people on both sides of that issue for sure.
And it's what I've just told you this morning. The secret is how to control everybody else. And you never understand how to control everybody else until you get to the top of this pyramid of initiation. Most people never make it past the third step. All above that are carefully chosen and nurtured and taught. Americans, for all these years, have been looking around for the enemy. They've never been able to find an enemy. So those who control them were able to control them even better by giving them an enemy. That's what Stalin and Churchill and Roosevelt determined at Yalta. Who was going to be the enemy post-war? Turned out to be Stalin. And there was going to be this phony Cold War so that the population would never discover the real enemy. And I'm talking about the population of the Soviet Union as well as the rest of the world. You see, the enemy has always been here. It's your uncle, your aunt, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your nephew, your nieces, who belong to the fraternal orders collectively known as the Mysteries. The very highest degrees of which, combined together, make up a secret order known as the Illuminati.
What is he talking about? So now he's trying to say, okay, I kind of get what he's saying, where the governments give you this imaginary enemy, like terrorism, or back then it was like Russia, the Cold War, and all that stuff, right? So they make up this kind of fake enemy, and so people feel like they need the government to protect them from the fake enemy. So, but then he says something about how the real enemy is these secret societies, right? And then he's saying how, it's your uncle, it's your aunt or whatever who is in the secret society. What are you talking about?
Your aunt, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister. And there was going to be this phony Cold War so that the population would never discover the real enemy. And I'm talking about the population of the Soviet Union as well as the rest of the world. You see, the enemy has always been here. It's your uncle, your aunt, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your nephew, your nieces, who belong to the fraternal orders collectively known as the Mysteries. The very highest degrees of which, combined together, make up a secret order known as the Illuminati. Their goal is to destroy all existing religions save theirs, all existing governments save theirs, and shackle the mob in a system of eternal oppressive debt chained to a computer for the rest of their life. And
Okay, wait. Okay, let me hear this again.
their goal is to destroy all existing religions save theirs, all existing governments save theirs, and shackle the mob in a system of eternal oppressive debt chained to a computer for the rest of their life. And a propagandized world to make them believe that they are happy in this system. Now, do you think they're succeeding? Yeah. Haven't I described to
Yeah, because that is kind of like a fear people had at that time. That's why they can make this story like this. Yeah, I know the veterans are a very sad case, bro. I mean, look, people they get thrown in, they're just like thrown into the meat grinder of war. It's very sad. But anyway, what he's trying to say is that basically that so they're trying to destroy all religion except theirs and destroy freedom or something. And then so the people, these kind of people, right? These country people in America back then, or they're not country, but maybe they are. They're Lansing, Michigan. It's kind of countryside, but I don't know. Anyway, the point is they're not like well-educated, sophisticated people, right? But they believe in this stuff because they see what's happening. They see how jobs are becoming these like weird jobs where you're in an office in a cubicle chained to a computer and all that stuff. That's why he's talking like that. And so they've already got this kind of narrative in their head that the government's trying to kind of coax them into that kind of way of life.
System of eternal oppressive debt chained to a computer for the rest of their life. And a propaganda.
Yeah, and oppressive debt. They already have that idea in their head that there's a debt system or something.
To make them believe that they are happy in this system. Now, do you think they're succeeding? Yeah. Haven't I described to you just now exactly what is going on in the world today? Yes, they're succeeding. They're succeeding because the American people.
So he described what's going on in the world today, and then he told them that that's their plan. You know, this is what I'm saying. Like, he's just telling them what they already kind of believe and don't like about the world, and then he said, "Oh, that's their plan." What?
Exactly what is going on in the world today? Yes, they're succeeding. They're succeeding because the American people.
Patriotism? I don't know. That's a tough question. I think isms are bad, man. Isms are generally bad. Patriotism, what's the actual definition of that? I mean, it sounds like it's like something like loving your country, which doesn't sound like a bad thing, but patriotism seems to be more than just that, right? Patriotism is the feeling of love, devotion, and a sense of attachment to a country or state. That's not bad. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but a state, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Love, devotion. Devotion, this seems a bit weird. Seems a bit extreme. Yeah, it depends on how far you take things. Yeah. I mean, if you're patriotic to the point where you think it's more important than God, that's clearly wrong. A person who vigorously supports their country and is prepared to defend it against enemies or detractors. I don't know. Vigorously supports your country. What does that mean again? I mean, am I supposed to vigorously support Canada when it participates in these wicked wars of aggression in all these countries across the ocean that have no problem with me? I don't think vigorously support your country is a good thing necessarily, because you could oppose your country but still love your country. Oh, I guess that's opposing your government, right? So you vigorously support your country, but you could oppose your government, right? So that's where we have to like talk about all that stuff too, right? I agree with Christian. It's more about how far you take things, but yeah. So vigorously supporting your country is good. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a good thing. But vigorously supporting your country might mean vigorously opposing its government, right? If you really support your country, you want your country to do things that are godly, that are good, that Jesus would support. And I would say that Jesus does not support the perpetual wars of our Western countries and stuff, right? So in that sense, I think patriotism could be good as long as you don't make it into basically blindly supporting your government, you know? Oh yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, that's good, man. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Loving America is good. But yeah, you have to be able to separate America from the government. Understand the government might even be an enemy of the American people. Certainly at some points in its history it has. And I would say it might have always been. So you have to be able to make that distinction, you know? But I love my country. I love Canada, you know? And I love the people of Canada, but I do kind of hate the government, you know? Weird. Anyway.
People don't understand their enemy. They don't even know what's happening. People were extolling the virtues of Pat Buchanan and actually considering voting for that man for president. And he sent them all a postcard. And on the front of that postcard, he identified himself as a high priest of the mysteries. Because on the front of his Christmas cards that he sent to all of his followers was the penis of Osiris, the phallus, the obelisk, with a nice red bow tied around the base, which represented the testes. You know what he was saying to you? Are there any children in here?
What? So this guy's trying to say that Pat Buchanan sent a Christmas card out. It sounds like he's saying that the Christmas tree was on there and that represented a phallus, and then there was a bow on it, so that represents testicles or something. It sounds like that's what he just said, right? That's just weird. Let's hear this, because I'm sorry to play this weird stuff this guy's saying, but kind of get it straight what he's trying to say.
Buchanan and actually considering voting for that man for president, and he sent them all a postcard. And on the front of that postcard, he identified himself as a high priest of the mysteries. Because on the front of his Christmas cards that he sent to all of his followers was the penis of Osiris, the phallus, the obelisk, with a nice red bow tied around the base, which represented the testes. You know what he was saying to you? Are there any children in here? He was saying, he was laughing at you. So was every other member of the Illuminati. He was a highly degreed member of the sovereign and military order of the Knights of Malta, which was taken over in the Peasants' Revolt in England by the...
So what is he saying was the phallus on the Christmas card or whatever? Is that the Christmas tree? Is that what he's saying? Because why is there a bow? I don't know. Like, he's basically saying that the dude sent out a Christmas card with a phallus on it, but the phallus symbol can be many things, right? A Christmas tree could be. I don't know what this guy's saying. This is weird.
The Knights Templars who had sworn revenge upon the old Hospitallers of St. John's, which later became the Knights of Malta because of their role in the suppression of the Templars. How many of you watch Trinity Network? How many of you watch Pat Robertson? You ever seen the cross in the crown? Do you know what that means? It's the symbol of the Templars. The Knights Templar. It is the symbol of the unification of the church and the government over the people. Is that what you want?
That's true. The cross and the crown is this Templar thing. But yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, there's people on the other side of it. Yeah, they can't stand it anymore. Yeah, but that's also kind of a reaction to the government more than the actual country itself. But maybe the people also. The people are kind of sinful and stuff, I guess. I don't think it's that much better in South America. Like, they have a lot of Catholic values or whatever, but that's not good. One, and also they have a lot of crime and stuff too. They're not like angels.
It's the symbol of the unification of the church and the government over the people. Is that what you want? Every time any church gets control of government, the people suffer. It has always happened. That's why our founding fathers established a country where that was not supposed to happen, where everybody was free to worship at the altar of their choice. And if you think they were all of one mind, you better think again. How many religions of the Protestant group do you think existed in this country when our founding fathers put together the Constitution? Over 1,500 different groups, all claiming they were right, teaching a different dogma, quoting scripture to justify what they said, and everybody else was going to hell. So don't give me this Christian nation bullshit, because that's what it is.
What?
Again, how many religions of the Protestant group do you think existed in this country when our founding fathers put together the Constitution? Over 1,500 different groups, all claiming they were right, teaching a different dogma, quoting scripture to justify what they said, and everybody else was going to hell. So don't give me this Christian nation bullshit.
1,500 when the founding fathers, 1,500 denominations when the founding fathers wrote up the Declaration. Really? 1,500 denominations? Is that true? I doubt that's true. That sounds like dumb.
Dogma, quoting scripture to justify what they said, and everybody else was going to hell. So don't give me this Christian nation bullshit, because that's what it is. This nation reflected Christian values because the people who made up the government in the early days were Christian, but none of them agreed with each other, and they still don't today. They very seldom ever have. What do you mean by Christian? Seventh-day Adventist? Branch Davidian? Need to do something.
No, we obviously don't mean Seventh-day Adventist or Branch Davidian. What are you talking about? Obviously not. What we mean. That's obviously not what we mean by Christian. Does this guy not know anything?
What do you mean by Christian? Seventh-day Adventist? Branch Davidian? Need to do some serious evaluating, some very serious checking out of agendas. If you really want to take over the government and make it a theocracy, because I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen if you do that. You're going to burn people at the stake who disagree with you. If that happens, I'm going to have to take up arms all over again. And so will many of you, because you're going to be persecuted. You see? Because whichever one controls the government, you're going to have to conform to that teaching. If you don't believe in it, you're a heretic. Do you understand what I'm talking about? What is
Who is trying to say this? What is this guy's just yapping, man? This is just yappery at the next level of yappery. It's so dumb. Oh man, I can't stand these people, dude. They're just con men, wicked deceivers.
Okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike and Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you want to support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shills. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike and Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.